Time now for the NFL Power Rankings presented by StubHub, the leading ticket marketplace for buying and selling tickets online. We saw 6 teams on a bye in Week 7, but still plenty of quality games on Sunday. This is what Pete Prisco's Power Rankings look like going into Week 7. Top 10, Bills, Cowboys, Chargers, all teams that did not play this weekend. The number 6 team was Baltimore. They did play, hosting a division rival in Cincinnati. And the Ravens were favorites to win that game, but the Bengals instead provided an upset, and it wasn't even close. Joe Burrow threw for a career-high 416 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 of them to C.J. Uzomah. Another was a highlight reel catch and run from Jamar Chase. The rookie wide receiver continues his torrid start to the season. 201 receiving yards on Sunday. He now has 754 this season. That is the most by any player in their first 7 career games in NFL history. Thanks to that performance, the first-place Bengals at 5-2 have jumped into the top 10, I believe, for the first time this season in the Prisco Power Rankings. They check in at number 7, up 5 spots from 12 last week. They take on the lowly Jets in Jersey this weekend. No changes to the top 5, with Arizona still leading the way with the league's only unbeaten record. Our producer caught wind of this Pete Prisco tweet on Monday. Hey, Chris Hassel. Hey, Brady Quinn. That Joe Burrow winning 1 Super Bowl in the next 10 doesn't seem so laughable now, does it? Just admit it. I was right on draft night in 2020. Then we can move on. It was quickly responded by BQ. Said, wait, let me get this straight. Parentheses, you said multiple, and we have 9 years to go, so you want to get credit for a prediction before it actually happens. Emoji clown face show. By the way, that's just a glimpse of what you get Wednesday afternoons with these 3 guys. We got Pete Prisco joining us here. Before we get to those power rankings, Pete, what'd you tweet, and what do you think about Brady's reaction?
Well, that's an ongoing joke inside our building with some of those guys, is that they say I said that Joe Burrow would win 2 Super Bowls in 10 years. And what I actually said was they would win 1 in 10 when he was drafted. And I still believe that. And I think what he's showing right now is how good he is as a quarterback. And so they always walk around going 2 in 10, 2 in 10. And it wasn't 2 in 10, it was 1 in 10. Now, it has to become 1 in 9 because he got hurt last year. But I still think that's a reality, and I still think it will happen. So Brady Quinn can put clown show there all he wants. I will be right.
And quick follow-up to that, the Bengals coming up at number 7. Again, we joked a little bit a couple weeks ago, Pete, about their 3-1 record, but now they're 5-2 moving forward, the chance to go 6-2. What do you think?
Look, they're playing great football, and kudos to that coaching staff for getting this young team to where it is right now. Joe Burrow's a star. He can make all the throws. You remember, what he did on Sunday came a week after the Ravens totally confused and outplayed Justin Herbert, who was the other quarterback, the top quarterback in that draft class. So I think Joe Burrow spent the week studying what they do. They tried to do some of the same things, and it didn't work. He's a star. Defensively, they're 10 times better than most people give them credit for. They can rush the passer. They're good on all levels. That's a good football team.
All right, let's go to the Chiefs right now. You have not dropped them anywhere below 12 this year. A couple of times they've been flirting with that, but now they come in at number 17. What continues to be the problem in Kansas City as they continue to fall below 500?
Well, there's a couple things. One, defensively, they're terrible. And when you're bad on defense, you fall behind. Your plan that you'd like to use on offense goes out the window. And what I mean by that is teams are now playing them off coverage. They're daring them to be patient. They're daring them to run the football. But when you're behind, it's hard to do that. And I think that's bleeding over into the offense. They're panicking. Patrick Mahomes is leaving clean pockets. The offensive line isn't as good as it was early in the year. And I think that's all adding up to a team that's not very good right now. They can get it back together. They need to get it together this week against the Giants. But they need to be smarter the way they play the game. You have to be patient on offense. You can't abandon your plan when you fall behind because your defense isn't good enough right now.
On Thursday night, we're going to get a battle of the number 1 team and then perhaps the number 1 team if they end up beating the Arizona Cardinals. It's the Packers and the Cardinals for Green Bay, potentially without Davante Adams unless he can produce a couple of negative tests due to COVID, maybe more. What about this game do you like, Pete? What are you looking out for here?
Well, obviously, it starts with the quarterbacks, and I think Kyler Murray's done some amazing things this year. He's in the MVP conversation, and we know Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's going to go out there and be able to make all the throws, even without Davante Adams. Now, not having Adams really puts a real damper on their plan and what they want to do, because obviously he's targeted so many times in that offense. So it'll limit what they can do offensively. It might change the way they play a little bit, but this will still be a game decided by the two quarterbacks. The Cardinals defense solid. The Packers defense has had a ton of injuries, but they've responded around some of the guys that have filled in. Rashawn Gary had a great game last week, so I can't wait to see it. Number one versus number two, with number one in next week's power rankings on the line.
But Pete, with Aaron Jones is sort of a subpar game, A.J. Dillon there could be used more. Might we see a change there without having all of the weapons? I think, with obviously MVS potentially coming back as well.
Do you change your philosophy and try and run the ball and control the clock and play that kind of game if you're the Packers? No. I think you be true to who you are. Whether Adams is there or not, you have to be true to who you are. And you know you're going to have to score points. So don't play the game where we're going to control the clock and limit their possessions, because I think you get in trouble when you do that. Be true to who you are, and I think the Packers will be.
Fair enough. All right, those are the teams at the top. We saw the top 10. Now let's take a look at the bottom 5, which is always a conversation to be had within the teams with only one victory to its name. So when we take a look at the bottom 5 here, the Jets continue to be there. They lost Zach Wilson out at least 2 weeks, potentially a month. They got Joe Flacco back. But I want to focus on the Dolphins here, Pete. They got that one victory, came at the first game of the season against the Patriots. When you look at Miami, what stands out to you about how poorly they continue to play?
Well, quickly, if Damian Harris doesn't fumble inside the 10 in that game, they're 0-7. I mean, think about that. This has not been a good football team. They're one of the most, in fact, they are the most disappointing team in the league. And when you look at them on tape, what do you see? Bad offensive line play. It's horrible. Tua had a decent game the other day. There was a red zone interception, but he's made some throws, and that offensive line puts him in bad situations. The receivers are always hurt. I mean, Devontae Parker and Will Fuller are always hurt. Remember, this was going to be a track team outside. Well, it's not a track team this year because those guys haven't been on the field. And defensively, when you have a lead late in the game and you're Brian Flores and you have a defensive reputation, you have to be able to hold the Falcons out of the red zone and keep them from getting that game-winning field goal. I think all in all, it's been a major disappointment, and there's a lot of problems, which is why they're exploring, the Deshaun Watson situation. But I can say this with 100% certainty. Deshaun Watson comes there, and even if he plays, this team's not getting to the postseason.
Tough times in South Florida. They come back from the London game, typically a bye that didn't happen because they thought they might be a good team, and Pete, they're not a good team. Check out the rest of his power rankings there on CBSSports.com. Pete, certainly appreciate it, my man. I want to let you know about the All Things Covered podcast as well. Patrick Peterson and our guy, two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden, they've got Dalvin Cook on the pod, talking about Adrian Peterson comparisons. His quarterback, Kirk Cousins, the Cookie Monster himself, Dalvin Cook, joining the All Things Covered pod. Download and follow today.